Jayda InStitches show. Today we've got a woolly, easy cowl pattern for you. And we're going to be using Woolies by Lion Brand Yarns. We'd like to thank Lion Brand for sponsoring today's video. Woolies is an acrylic wool blend. It is easy to work with, it is lovely and warm, and it comes in a whole bunch of pretty colors. This beautiful pink I'm wearing is Blush Heather. We'll link Lion Brand's website in the description box down below and the pinned comment, so you can head on over there and check out all of the beautiful colors that Woolies comes in. Now I want to mention there's two different kinds of Woolies. There's Woolies Thick and Quick, and then there's regular Woolies. We're using regular Woolies for this pattern. This is the size 4 medium weight yarn. So let's talk about the cowl. We are using a super simple 2-stitch pattern, and we have an optional little border edge that you can add to the top and the bottom. This is a really flexible pattern. You can make it to fit anybody. We're going to explain how to do that in the tutorial. And it's just the perfect little accompaniment for all those cool fall weather days. So it's not quite freezing, but it's not still warm enough that you can kind of get away without having a little something around your neck or just tucked under the collared edge of your sweater or your cardigan or maybe your coat. This is that perfect little in-between seasons accessory. So let's grab our hooks, we'll grab our yarn, we'll head on over to the craft table, and we will stitch up a woolly, easy cowl together. In order to make our cowls, we want 1 ball of Woolies by Lion Brand. This is a size 4 medium weight yarn. There's 85 grams or 197 yards in the ball. It's an 80% acrylic, 20% wool blend, and this is Blush Heather, this particular color, lovely soft pink. You want a pair of scissors, a yarn needle, a measuring tape so that you can get the correct circumference size of your head so that your cowl will fit over it. And we're using a 7mm hook today. You can also use a 6.5mm hook. That's also known as a K or a 10.5 in the US. Possibly a 2 or a 3 if you have old hooks from the UK. And once you've got all that together, we can get started. Please visit our shop and purchase a pattern. It helps support our show, and we'll put a link to our shop in the description box down below. The first thing you want to do is measure the circumference of your head. So you're going to take your measuring tape, you're going to wrap it all the way around your head, over your ears so that it crosses in your forehead, and you're going to take that measurement. For me, that ends up being 22 inches. If you don't have the head that you want to make this scarf for handy, then you can use the common head sizing chart that we have over on the tools page of our website, and we'll put a link to that in the description box down below. And the reason we're getting the head circumference measurement is so that we know our finished cowl will fit over top of the head. If you don't have a measuring tape handy, but you're just making it for yourself, you can chain a foundation chain row that is any even number of chains that, when the two ends brought together across your ears, over your ears and at your forehead, fits comfortably around your head, not too stretched and definitely not loose. I have chained 60. This fits comfortably around my head. It's a little loose, but not too loose, and it's certainly not snug, so I know that when I've got the whole thing created, it'll fit over top of my head, but it'll also be somewhat snug around my neck. So that's what we're going for here. So I've chained 60, and we're going to actually create the circle that we work into. So it's very important that you just take a moment to run the chain between your thumb and forefinger, just applying a little bit of pressure so that you make sure that your chained foundation row doesn't twist on you. And you know it hasn't twisted because all of those chains are running flat underneath your thumb. And if you're just sort of doing it nice and gently, you will get out any of those little twists that may have happened. Then you're going to join with a slip stitch to that first chain you made. And just to be on the safe side, now that you've joined that chain, you're going to pull it down over your head. Make sure that it goes over your head comfortably. We are using a fun little version of the 2-stitch. So right from where we are, joined in that first chain, I'm just going to work over top of my little short tail, we're going to chain 1. Every row begins with a chain 1, but it doesn't count as a stitch. It's just sort of a stitch to get us up to the height that we want to go to. So we're going to be using the half double crochet stitch, and into that same chain that we joined in, we're going to half double crochet twice. And the trick to this pattern is keeping your tension nice and easy. So if you're having trouble keeping a nice, loose, easygoing tension, then I recommend going up a hook size because you don't want your stitches to be very tight. We skip the next chain, find the chain after that, and work 2 half double crochet into it. I'm using the chains so that both the top loops sit over top of my hook, but it doesn't matter. You can use just the top loop or the top 2 loops like I'm doing. But what you want to make sure is that you're consistent all the way around, and that just basically makes everything look nicer. So 2 half double crochets, again, nice and easy, into that skip. So you skip a stitch, and into the next stitch you work 2 half double crochet. Skip the next chain, into the next chain, work 2 half double crochet. Again, nice and easy. We're really keeping our wrists relaxed, keeping our fingers relaxed. We want a nice, easygoing and loose stitch. This is so you can see the spaces between those little pairs of half double crochets. All you're going to do all the way around is skip one chain, find the next chain, and work 2 half double crochets into it. This is why you want your foundation row to be an even number. It can be any number, but it has to be even so that our little 2 stitch works out. Once you get all the way back around to the beginning, you might be presented with something that looks like this, which can be a little confusing. So all you want to do is take the first few stitches you made and flip them up so that you're looking at the tops of your stitches. Here's your little tail. Your little tail should be down at the bottom, and just make sure you haven't completely twisted it like I have here. So I'll turn it back the other way, and it lies flat all the way around. So this is how you know you haven't twisted the bottom of your cowl. Now we're just going to join with a slip stitch to the top of that first half double crochet stitch we made. The number of chains in your foundation chain row, which was 60 for me, will also be the exact same number of half double crochet stitches you have. So you'll have little pairs of half double crochet stitches all the way around, but you'll have 60 in total, or the exact same number of half double crochet stitches as you have chains in your foundation chain row. That's row 1. Every row begins with a chain 1, and we turn. So we don't usually do this in a work in the round pattern, but this is going to make it so easy. Right below the chain 1 that you made will be the little space between sets of half double crochets, and you're going to work right into that space 2 half double crochet. Again, nice and easy with the tension. And now we go in the other way. Pull your stitches apart. You'll see there's a set of 2, there's a set of 2. It's in between the sets of 2 stitches that you want to put your hook through and half double crochet 2 stitches right into that space. Nice and easy. Hop over to the next space, 2 half double crochet right there in between the sets. There's the next space, 2 half double crochet. And that's all you're going to do all the way around. At the end of row 2, you'll have one little set of half double crochet sitting below you from the previous row. There's our little tail. You're just going to reach across and join with a slip stitch to the top of that first half double crochet that you made in the row. So that's row 2 complete. You'll have the same number of stitches, and you can start to see that cute little 2-stitch pattern starting. Every row begins with a chain 1 and turn, because we're always going to go in the opposite direction. That puts the space between the little sets right beneath where your chain 1 is, all ready for you to work into it. 2 half double crochet, and then you just keep going. Find the next space in between the little stitch sets and 2 half double crochet into it. This is the pattern that you are going to repeat over and over for 20 rows in total for an adult, around 17 or 18 rows for a tween or a sort of a younger teenager. And for a child, I would recommend 16, maybe 15 rows, depending on the age of the child. And I'm talking about children under 10. So 20 rows will get us roughly a 10-inch tall cowl. And of course, you know you want that to sort of scrunch comfortably under your chin. Every row ends the same. You work your last set of 2 half double crochet into the space between sets from the previous row, hop over top of that last set, join with a slip stitch to the top of the first half double crochet you made. Chain 1, turn your work. That sets up that first space between sets to be right below your chain. You work your first 2 half double crochet into that space and you continue the pattern. 2 half double crochet into the space between sets all the way around. Every row will have the exact same number of stitches in it, and you will start to see this really sweet and simple little pattern emerging. You can go ahead and work away at that. Remember, keep your tension nice and loose. Easy going. This is a simple pattern, so the tendency is to speed up a little bit, and when we speed up, sometimes we get a little on the tight side. So try to fight against tight stitches. You want nice, loose stitches. Nice, easy tension. And I'll see you at the end of row 20. That's 20 rows of our little 2-stitch pattern, and it's very easy to count your rows. All you have to do is start at the bottom, find one of your sets, and kind of count in a little zigzag fashion. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and so on. 20 rows should be approximately 10 inches tall. If it's a little shorter or a little taller, that's fine. There's no real correct sizing to this. Most of our necks are not 10 inches tall. So this will squish down nicely underneath our chins. I'm going to show you an optional little closing border that you can add to the top of your cowl if you want. Otherwise, you can just go ahead and work another row or 2 of this 2-stitch pattern if you like, just to use up the rest of your yarn. But this is just a little border that I thought you might enjoy, just to finish things off across the top. For our little optional border edge, when you finish your last row, you're going to chain 1 and turn just as though you would if you were starting another row of the 2-stitch pattern. Into the space directly below your chain 1, you're going to work 2 double crochets. I should say 2 half double crochets, sorry. So same thing, 2 half double crochets. And into the very next stitch, you're going to slip stitch. And that's that. Find the next space and work 2 half double crochets into it. Grab the top of the stitch immediately next to you and slip stitch. Let's do that once more. Here's the space, 2 half double crochets into it. And into the next stitch, slip stitch. And all this is going to do is give the edge, the top edge of your cowl, just the gentlest of little sort of soft, bumpy, sort of little rounded top. So instead of it being flat, it's got just a little bit of interest and texture. So it's essentially the 2 stitches, or the 2-stitch pattern we've been using, 2 half double crochet into the space between stitches, but instead of skipping over the other 2 half double crochets, you are slip stitching into the top of the very next stitch before you continue on to that space between. And that's all you're going to do all the way around. When you get back around to the beginning, you're going to work your last 2 half double crochets into the space, slip stitch into the next stitch. That'll bring you up against the first half double crochet you made, and you're just going to slip stitch to join to the top of that first half double crochet. And that gives you a sort of a soft little rounded edging across the top. And that's that for the border. You can snip your yarn, fasten off, and weave in your tails. Now, you can leave the bottom as it is, but if you have around 7 yards of yarn left over, I'm going to show you an even smaller version of that little border edge that we can do around the bottom. We're going to take our yarn and make a slip knot. You don't need very much tail, and like I said, you want to have around 7 yards of your yarn left. Pick up the bottom of your cowl, and here's where we started. That's the little tail from our join, right into that space between sets of half double crochet. We're going to join our yarn with a slip stitch, chain 1, and instead of half double crocheting into this space, we're going to single crochet into it. 2 single crochet into the space. You're going to slip stitch into the next chain, so the underside of the next chain. I'm just going to get my little tails out of the way so you can see what I'm doing here. So right into the next chain, little slip stitch, and then into the next space, 2 single crochet. Again, you want to keep your tension relaxed, not tight. 2 single crochet, slip stitch into the chain right next door, and keep going. 2 single crochet into the space. And because we're using a short stitch, this will use up less yarn, and it'll make a very small little curved edge around the bottom. Very, very gentle. Almost not there. And the point of adding a little extra around the bottom is just to give that foundation chain row a bit of extra strength and to kind of clean it up. It'll look a little bit more like the top. 2 single crochet into the space, slip stitch into the next chain, 2 single crochet into the space, and that's all you do all the way around. To finish up that little bottom edge of border, work your last 2 single crochet into the last space, slip stitch into the next foundation chain, and then find the top of the first single crochet you made to begin that row, and slip stitch to join. You can fasten off. If you have any more than, say, 10 centimeters or 4 inches of tail, you can trim the rest and just weave in the edges. So if you've got a couple tails left, you're just going to weave them back and forth underneath those stitches just a couple times to make sure they don't want to come out. But the nice thing about wool blends and wool is that it's got a little bit of grab, and those tails don't want to come out once they've been woven in. The seam at the back is relatively difficult to see. You have to really kind of look for it. There you can sort of see it right there. And that's just basically where we turn, chain 1 and turn for the beginning and end of each row. But other than that, it's a fairly seamless little project because we've worked it on a big ring. You've got an optional little finishing border on the bottom and an optional finishing border up top. 1 ball of yarn. And there you go, a woolly, easy cowl using Woolies by Lion Brand. And a special thank you to Lion Brand once again for sponsoring today's video. I love the 2-stitch pattern. It's easy, it's simple, you can kind of do it for as long as you want, and all you need is an even number of foundation chains to get started. We hope you enjoyed today's project, and we will see you soon here on the Jayda InStitches show. Until then, stay safe, stay crafty, and have an awesome week. Bye everybody!
Hi everybody! Mr. InStitches here. Thank you for watching today. Here are some of our other videos you might be interested in. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe.